Now we've got Justin Trudeau, the Canadian Prime Minister, discussing the flat Earth. Take it away, Justin.
I remember a few years ago, before the pandemic, before much of this, I got fascinated with the idea of flat earthers. Now, this is an entirely new phenomenon. There wasn't really any moment back in recorded history, not the ancient Greeks or the ancient Babylonians or the Incas or whoever else, who actually wondered whether the earth was actually flat or not.
Wrong. I was taught at school the old Hebrew concept of earth was a level earth within a dome. Not that I'm standing by that model, I'm not. So already you're wrong. Many of the ancients were cited as believing the earth was flat. So like I said, you're wrong, Justin. And you cite the Greeks, the ancient Greeks. They can't have been too savvy, because all they did was plant sticks in the ground, and based off the shadows of those sticks, they suddenly came to some wacky conclusion that every single scientific demonstration on this earth was wrong. So dull were they that they couldn't grasp in their head that they would get the same results from a smaller local sun, thus destroying their silly argument anyway. Oh dear.
And Christopher Columbus, they knew the earth was round. There was no danger he was going to fall off the edge of the world. That wasn't what people worried about when he was setting up.
Oh dear. Listen to the tosh these people are having to serve up to try and keep this lie going. No one believes there's an edge, Justin. Based on demonstrable reality, all bodies of water need to be contained. It's a demonstrable fact, one that destroys the globe earth theory. And no one believes there's a waterfall edge at the end of the earth. Again, propaganda put out there to confuse and muddy the waters. And of course, it's done a job on the Prime Minister of Canada. Oh dear.
To discover the Americas or discover a shortcut to India. But recently, over the past few years, a whole bunch of people have decided that the world is flat.
No, it's not like a whole people have suddenly decided to say, oh yeah, the earth's flat. No. A whole bunch of people have decided to test and verify the fundamental claims of which we've all been taught, and found out that the globe's scientifically impossible.
Now, everything we know about science, from the people we've sent to the moon, to the photo.
Moon landing's a daft charade. Check the videos on my channel to see how ridiculous that is. I'm not going to appeal to authority.
We've taken from space to how we explain day versus night and seasons.
All works with a smaller local sun. Again, why would you need to look up away from Earth at the sun and stuff like that, when we can test and verify for ourselves using real world physics? We can all test and verify for ourselves and prove the globe's impossible. So again, you're just waffling nonsense, Justin.
We know that the earth is round.
There's the look of a man and the sound of a man who doesn't know a bloody thing. Bless him.
But there are a whole bunch of people out there who have decided that the earth is flat. And they hang out with each other and they find different ways of proving to themselves that the earth is flat. Now, that may not seem like a very serious thing, because someone who believes the earth is flat is not going to necessarily...
There's no belief. I'm only talking from my own point of view here. I'm a demonstrable realist, and based on science that can be tested and verified by every single person on this earth, the earth is demonstrably level. There's no belief. It's a scientific fact, Justin.
Cause tremendous harm to everyone else. But the ability to start to believe something that simply isn't true, because enough people are telling you and reinforcing that around you, actually starts creating real problems.
I think what you're actually discussing here is actually the globe. You're trying to project the globe's failings and the damage the globe causes onto people now who found it out. It's very dishonest of you. Very dishonest, incredibly desperate, and of course it's not a new tactic, is it?
It can bring us as a society to very scary places.
The globe is responsible for every single bit of human suffering on this earth right now. It's not an opinion, it's a demonstrable fact, Justin. You're making yourself look incredibly foolish here, fella.
And that's why we're still very much trying to figure it out. How to make sure we're protecting people's freedom of speech and freedom of expression. And we're making...
You've got algorithms set up to hinder even conversation on channels like myself. Comments going missing left, right and centre. Algorithms set up to hide videos. Algorithms set up to promote globe propaganda. It's nothing about free speech. It's called censorship. You don't want the real truth to get out. Don't get me wrong. Your algorithms will promote straw man misrepresentations of the flat earth, so they can muddy the waters and have something that no one believes to attack and debunk. Of course, gullible, naive, mainstream believers will believe it and then assume that that's what people actually believe. Crazy.
Sure that marginalized communities and people who are traditionally oppressed by majorities continue to be protected in all the ways they need to be.
Now, if that was true, government and the powers that shouldn't be really had our best interest at heart and wanted to protect us, there would be no homelessness across the earth. But there is. There's a terrible homeless problem in every single country as people are suffering. Now, if these people, these governments and space agencies actually had our best interest at heart, and they were so-called, their claims were true, i.e. they were exploring space for the better of humanity, if that was actually true, there'd be no homeless people here on Earth. But there's homeless people everywhere, particularly in America. So it's not about protecting us or for humanity. Quite the opposite. It's about a narrative. One that's being pushed, one that's destructive, and quite frankly, evil. And it is the globe.
Societies, because there are lots of tools for majorities to oppress minorities everywhere in the world. But our capacity to make sure we're keeping people safe and not having people actually believe that vaccines include a microchip that's going to track you or poison you when it's...
I'm not even going to entertain that subject. I'm pro-choice. If you want to entertain some government drug, carry on. Just don't expect me to be entertaining silliness. I'm a health freak. I don't entertain drugs whatsoever. I like good food and a healthy lifestyle. And I certainly don't listen to well-known liars who proclaim to have my best interest at heart.
Actually about saving your life. These are things we have to figure out together. And the more we have real conversations, the more we encourage our kids to be critical thinkers about what they see on the internet, the more we teach our kids.
I'm afraid the school system doesn't teach people discernment whatsoever. It pats them on the back, congratulates them on repeating things. That's it. That's not about giving them a skill set to discern and able to wade through bullshit and highlight what's right and what's wrong. No. Again, Justin, you're making yourself look incredibly dishonest here, or misinformed.
Not to take candy from strangers, not to walk into dark alleys on alone. You have to look both ways before crossing the street. Well, we have to start making sure that as parents and as a society, we're helping kids and all of us be smart and safe in...
Well, here's a start. How about you actually ask the education system to provide an air pressure system example residing next to a vacuum without solid separation? How about you provide a demonstration of a pendulum that would suggest tower cranes could be dead still and plumb whilst doing ludicrous speeds in all different directions? How about you provide a demonstration of science, of real physical measurement of a large standing body of water displaying convexity upon its surface? You can, because the globe's scientifically impossible. And anyone shouting gravity, sorry, gravity can be overcome i.e. the downward vector, can be overcome by a gentle breeze. So it's quite clearly gravity doesn't cut it either. Doesn't make a scientifically impossible world suddenly become reality. Just doesn't. If you look at my channel for the last week, Justin, I've got 2 videos on my channel highlighting the skullduggery of the mainstream media. Walt Disney, National Geographic, Warner Brothers, Discovery Science, all caught out trying to fake globe evidence. Now that's not very good for the kids, fella, is it? You wouldn't need to fake globe evidence if the globe was real. You'd cite real evidence that would stand up to scrutiny. You've been busted, guys. Your fantasy world's been destroyed, and no amount of damage control, whether it comes from an online globe troll or the Canadian Prime Minister, is ever going to cut it. You've been found out, lads. The game's up.
What we choose to learn, what we choose to consume, who we choose to hang out with on the internet as well. It's a big world out there. There's a lot of beauty and wonderful things, and you're going to have more access to it than anyone else has ever before. There's also some really dark spots out there that your dad's going to be very thoughtful about how.
Yeah, it's called the mainstream media. Very dark spots. Awful information. Never about empowering you. More so about putting fear into you and getting you to make bad decisions. Certainly not empowering you with a skill set, and certainly not providing actual real scientific demonstrations that can be tested and verified by all. These people are in such a mess. It's embarrassing. If you're an actual globe believer, this has become embarrassing, lads.
How he's going to keep you safe from all sorts of things in life, and that's just an extra worry we get as parents as our kids spend more time on their cell phones than was ever thought possible. I have a 15-year-old that I'm struggling with right now that I think some people can relate to.
Bless your 15-year-old. Just based on what you've been saying here, they're going to be up against it with a father like yourself.
It's a reality. Our job is to keep you safe.
Keep you safe. Can you see how ridiculous these people are? People that put up spikes in doorways. People that demand your taxes and you pay money. People that will beat you up and imprison you unless you do what they say. Want to protect you.
We're working on it as a government. One of the challenges, though, and this will be my last thought, one of the challenges is governments used to have the ability to protect people. If a shipment.
You're boring me, Justin, with your waffle. Governments have never been about protecting people or looking after them. It's always been about oppressing them. Space is a prime example of that. Multiple governments are pushing that and spending billions on it, claiming to go to an environment that's scientifically impossible. All whilst their people, the poor people, are suffering in their country, living in the streets, rotting and starving to death. You see the hypocrisy, the double standards, the straw man bullshit, the misrepresentations, the appeal to authority that these characters have to come up with. It's used to work back in the day, but actually now it's having a counterproductive effect and is actually destroying themselves with their own so-called argumentation. It's fantastic, really.
Of Nazi propaganda was coming over to Canada. Well, border guard.
Oh, shut up, Justin. You're about as this is been about as effective as a chocolate teapot, mate. You've done more harm than good here with your so-called flat Earth debunk speech. The globe's scientifically impossible. That can be tested and verified by all. The mainstream media have been caught out lying, producing fake globe evidence. And of course, that can be tested and verified by all. So we're in a bit of a mess. We've got governments that pretend they got our best interest at heart, but yet every single bit of evidence suggests exactly the opposite. So the sooner people wake up to the games afoot here, the better. And the best way we can do that is to stand by science we can all test and verify for ourselves. That way we destroy all of this silly subject. It gets annihilated by simply standing by the things that are simply true. It's all you need to do. If you want a map, I demand full exploration to provide that map. You couldn't give me a map of the flat I lived in the 1970s without exploring it. So it would be exactly the same for the Earth. And I demand that based off the scientific fact that the globe's scientifically impossible, tested and verified by all. And because of that, we've got to entertain all sorts of propaganda, misrepresentations, algorithms working against us. You type in flat earth on Google, you get pictures of discs residing in a heliocentric vacuum just sitting there, again promoted as the flat earth, yet no one actually believes it. The flat earth is simply real world science, the results of which prove the globe is not only ridiculous, but of course scientifically impossible. And as a result, this is why we get people like the Prime Minister of Canada on full-on damage control. But the great thing is, this thing has progressed so much now that Justin Trudeau's so-called damage control, as I previously stated, is counterproductive. It's actually doing more damage. Keep up the good work, lads.